Okay there, everybody. Welcome back to another Dragon Age stream. Um, so, if you've been following if you've been here on the stream for these particular videos, you probably noticed the fact that, well, I've been having just a little bit of problem getting Dragon Age to work for me. It keeps on crashing and Um, I don't get any kind of like error message or anything along those lines. So yeah, it's been a little problematic in actually getting the game to run properly. I've tried figuring it out, before to see if there's something that I could do to try to get things working properly, but more often than not, I was met with, outright failure. Now, Um, I'm gonna try one last thing that Blackheart mentioned. Um, which is switching um, um, the drivers to kind of focus on version 9 instead of the current um, the current up to date, so that the graphics drivers are kind of more in line with the original Dragon Age Origins. Um, so we're gonna see if that will work for us. Um, Not 100% sure if it will be. Um, but my previous attempts to try to get it to work have been met with downright failure. I have not been able to play this game for quite some time because it would just keep on crashing on me and there was no way for me to proceed forward in the game. So I'm hopeful that, you know, the recent change that I did will hold and I can get through the rest of the game, continue with the main storyline to get to the eventual ending. But we'll see. Um, you know, uh, let's see. I forget how long was how long is Dragon Age supposed to be? Um, Dragon Age Origins playtime. According to this, when focusing on the main objectives, Dragon Age Origins is about 40 and a half hours in length. So probably going to take a lot longer than that. If you're a gamer that strives to see all aspects of the game, you're likely to spend around 87 hours to obtain 100% completion. Okay. Yeah, I'm probably going to be doing that, if not more. Um, so, I had, I had to delete the marketplace because it just kept on crashing on me, even with the DX9 set. Um, so, um, so normally this back alley still works, or at least it worked in the past. Um, so there wasn't really any problems, you know, here in this particular area. But whenever I would, go through and go into the city map and proceed back into the market there, um, you know, we had a lot of issues in the market that um, just would not work for us whatsoever. Okay, um, Now, one thing that I want to do, did I already do the, yeah, I've already created the lesser health potions because, um, um, Alistair kept on, I had the health set so that, um, it was originally at, hey, if health is over 25%, drink a health potion. And that was obviously stupid to me because it's not saying like, hey, you want to drink it when you are, close to dying. You want to drink it when you're at full health. And it's like, that doesn't help. So, um, what I would like to do is buy some more flasks so I can make more of them so that I can handle, any additional fights. We're going to ignore the sergeant there for the time being because he's going to give us a mission, that I've completed before, for the tavern here. We will do that, but what I want to do first, you know, for one, try to get the flask, and two, to continue to see if this works, and it does because normally it crashes here. You know, not able to enter this location.
Welcome to the wonders of Thedas. We carry items crafted by the Circle, as well as a variety of antiquities. Is there anything you would like to see?
Browses wares. This is where you can purchase flasks, and I have a fair amount of cash right at this moment in time, so. Alright, let's see. I can only purchase 8 sets of them. Okay. But I mean, that's only 12 silver, so I might as well, right? Um, Wait. Where's... Oh, wait, was that 8 for the flask, or was that 8 sets? It might be 8 for yeah, it might have been just 8 for the single one. Yeah, okay. That's where I was mistaken. I was able to buy 8 flasks and only 8 flasks. Okay. My mistake. Um, okay, so now that I have 8 of them, I can make myself 8 more lesser health potions. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Wait for him to get some um, more flasks there. Okay. And before we go too much further, let me go ahead and try to save. There we go. Yeah, so far we're making okay progress, but I mean, obviously there's still much for me left to do here per se.
Good to see you back. I've got complaints in the Nord Noble Tavern that some mercenaries have invaded. Nothing violent has happened. The sellswords are probably just disturbing the nobles' rarefied conversation. Just drum the louts out of there. The barkeep doesn't mind some blood. Or sport, as she called it. Captain said Denham won't miss a few dead mercenaries. Do what you will, and good luck.
Nice, Captain. Let's kill everybody inside. No. We're going to... When we go inside here, we're going to switch on over to Alistar so that, he can kind of intimidate the um, intimidate the Crimson Ore mercenaries here. So,
What are you looking at? We're the Crimson Ores.
um,
You haven't heard of us? We're mercenaries from all over the world. We have won many battles, and tonight we drink before the next.
um,
We happen to like the ale better here, the wine too. Less vomits on the floor. So long as we're paying, they're serving! Ha ha!
let's see.
No! We go wherever we want! We are the Crimson Ores!
Okay. I don't really like this persuade, and obviously, you know, my persuades haven't really been working very well.
We are veterans of many battles. What are you to us?
And this is where Alistar comes into play here, the whole intimidate.
We... Well, we were just leaving. Yes, Ores, we go to the docks!
And here's the
Good job
owner.
clearing those louts out.
Yeah, don't care for her whatsoever about this, but you know, whatever. Oh, yeah. You know, didn't necessarily want to get into a battle if I could help it, so. Especially seeing that we were kind of like in a very enclosed location and we were pretty much surrounded on all sides, so, you know, me being a mage, probably would have had some difficulties.
Edwina sends her thanks for getting rid of the Crimson Ores. Mind you, she's disappointed there was no fighting.
Oh,
Here's payment.
too bad.
You've helped out a great deal.
She can suffer. Alright, and I don't think there was any
Thanks
additional
for the help
questions.
you've given. Unfortunately, I have more headaches to deal with.
Alright. Now, I don't think they're gonna give me the opportunity to buy, purchase more flasks. Normally they have like a slight, like delay. And it crashed. Okay, guys. I I'm kind of done with this game. Obviously, I'll put these videos up on my YouTube channel. Um, if anybody has any kind of suggestions as to, you know, what I might be able to do to get it to work, then I'll see what I can do. But apparently, there's some problems with the game, and it's not really working the way it needs to work. So yeah, there's nothing I can do. Okay, I'm tired of having to fight it to get the game to run here on the PC. So I'm going to go ahead and close it down and move on to another game because I just can't get it to work the way it needs to work. It just keeps on crashing on me, and I'd rather spend my time and effort on something else. So, um, this just, you know, um, I'll have to let Crazy know that, I wasn't able to even get the game to run properly, or at least, I was able to, I was able to get it to run for a short time, but obviously nowhere near in terms of, um, completing the storyline at any, uh, in any sense of the word, you might say, you know. So, apologies to Crazy. I know that he kind of wanted me to try this game out, but my computer just maybe my computer's just too powerful. But I mean, even then, you should be able to adjust your computer to handle running an older game. At least one would think. But yeah, uh, no dice on this so far. Um, Now, like I said, if you find a way to try to get this to be fixed, if you're watching this on YouTube and you're going, oh Jim, I know exactly what you're dealing with. This is the way to try to fix the situation that you're dealing with. Um, you know, um, you want to check out this website because this person had the exact same problem and there you go, right? Then go ahead and you know mention it in the comments, or maybe go to my Discord and mention it there. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything else to really say about Dragon Age at this point. Um, okay. Let me take a little bit of time to kind of discuss um, my, I guess my ending thoughts. Okay. Obviously, having the PC not being able to run it is sucks. Okay. Um, it's really terrible that, that I just can't seem to get it to run on my machine. Okay. So not sure what to do about it there. Okay. Um, but let's talk about everything else about the game. Okay. Um, First, the story. So, or at least the story so far. Okay. Um, you are, you know, you're a Grey Warden that is meant to try to protect, uh, there's a large invasion force of Darkspawn that is, spawning out in the world that are just, you know, um, gonna tear through the kingdoms and kill everybody, you know, and all that kind of jazz. And you were recruited in the Grey Wardens to try to fight them off. Okay, interesting premise. Um, Betrayal. Okay, a little odd on that. Not sure why, you'd have a betrayal on the battlefield when you have a large enemy force that everybody should be worried about. You would think, hey, maybe combine forces to fight them. If you're not doing that, you're basically letting them take over and destroy everybody. You know, um, but apparently that never crossed that particular person's mind. Um, so it's like, okay, well, you know, you're kind of being a little stupid, but you know, whatever. Well, maybe the guy's like going, I have the best force in the entire world. I can handle these guys myself. I mean, if he had looked at the battlefield and saw that like the entire king's army was being absolutely decimated, And that's including some Grey Wardens in there, then, you would think, maybe not, you know. Um, but then again, who's who's to say, right? Um, I I did not like um, the mindset of the Mage Tower. Did not like the mindset of the Crusaders that were kind of keeping an eye on the mages. I felt that that was a very overall toxic situation. Now, don't get me wrong. I get it that the mages, if they, you have to like have them tested to see if they can kind of handle the magical, uh, they get to a certain point in their abilities where their magic could be of great help or great, destruction. So you want to kind of have them test it out for that. And obviously you want to, if somehow they turn, like they suddenly become Sith or something like that, then you want to try to, um, combat. You want to be able to kind of deal with them, right? So I mean, I get that angle, but the idea that it's like, um, all the mages are dangerous, no matter what. We gotta always like keep an eye on them and kill them if they turn to the dark side, blah blah blah. It really left um, it was very concerning along those lines that it's like, hey, um, the idea that, um, if this whole like, mages aren't to be trusted at all kind of look to it. And on one side I'm like, okay, I can understand it to a certain degree. Like, you've had mages that turned into darkspawn and caused damage, destruction, death, whatever, right? I get that. Um, but the idea of like everybody being, the, you know, um, every mage needs to be, um, um, in a sense imprisoned, I guess you might say. It gives me like the like mutant internment camps. If anybody's ever really watched any like X-Men or learned about X-Men or whatnot, you know, they look at the X-Men as though, you know, they're mutants, they'll turn bad, they'll, cause a lot of damage, they'll hurt a lot of people, blah blah blah, right? But I mean, a lot of mutants are just people that just want to live, or they want to help out a lot of people. You know, X-Men were kind of meant to do that. They were meant to kind of protect. And then of course you did have those mutants that were quite evil or you know selfish or had the mindset of like everybody's after us, we need to kill them all. Um, So, I mean, obviously, there's a lot more nuance in X-Men and stuff like that. And I feel like they're trying to go for that in terms of the mages and um, the Crusaders. So there's a little bit there. So Um, so yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, how, um, it's yeah, you kind of wonder what led up to that, right? To have that kind of scrutiny on people that really don't really have any like choice in the matter kind of thing. Like they have a certain amount of abilities and like that they're set with, and they're like oh no, you're doing bad things. We need to kill you off or something like that. It's like, but on the other hand, you do have some mages that could be delving into the dark arts kind of thing, and it's like, well, if those dark arts leads to being darkspawn, or you're killing off people, then yeah, maybe we need to kind of um, find them, arrest them, put them away forever, kind of thing. Um, so, um, so that angle is interesting. Obviously, I didn't really have a chance to do any kind of work on the warrior or ranger or whatever. Um, Not that I mean, if I loved the game, then I probably would have tried like the other storylines to it, but um, let me get to, let me talk about the thing that I didn't really like very much to it. What I didn't necessarily like about it is um, you're given a choice on dialogue, right? That's kind of like BioWare's thing, right? They did Knights of the Old Republic, they did Mass Effect, they did Dragon Age. They're kind of known for that, those dialogue choices. Well, here's the thing. Um, I was, you know, there there were definitely points, in especially like in the previous two games that I mentioned, Mass Effect and Knights of the Old Republic, that the dialogue choices were didn't feel didn't feel correct for the character that I wanted. Okay. Um, like for example, I was, when I was doing like the Knights of the Old Republic and doing a Sith playthrough, I was wanting to try to get my Sith character into a point of like being, you know, like a similar version of, you know, um, Palpatine, you know, that, manipulates the people around them to do their bidding. And the problem is that the um, the dialogue choices turn the character into more of a serial killer. Like, hey, you do it my way or I kill you. There was no other options on that. They didn't want to give me any of those other options. And it was like, okay, well, um, so on one hand, it's like, yeah, you know, that's a very interesting strength in the game, and the idea of like, hey, you have like various different dialogues to allow for you to, you know, like change like a direction of a story potentially. But the problem with the dialogue is the fact that it wasn't really dynamic enough. You know, like I had some issues with it in that um, it wasn't kind of set in a direction that I would have loved to have taken it. You know, but I mean, yeah, um, I mean, I get it. Okay. When you're dealing with a game like this, that you don't have a you're you only have a certain amount that can be done, with the coders, you know, with the developers of the story, with the artists, so on and so forth. Okay, you're you have, you might have like a grand scope of what you want to aim for when it comes to a game, but sometimes you might need to kind of narrow that scope down to get it done. Okay. Um, so who knows? Knights of the Old Republic, BioWare might have really wanted to allow for the character to maybe become something similar to Palpatine, maybe. Um, but um, they only had um, they only had a limited scope, and they couldn't do anything more than that. So they only gave the dialogue choices that could only go in like one particular way, and that's it. Okay. So I understand it, um, and I do, appreciate the work that they went into it. It's just, you know, I guess that's the reason why, I sometimes enjoy more the desktop, the tabletop role-playing games over um, the role-playing games in games. You know, now now don't get me wrong. Okay, I still enjoy role-playing games. Okay, especially when um, you're playing through a story that's already been predetermined. Like someone is already, you know, someone has already kind of created the story, and that you're playing through that story, yourself, right? Um, so it's not like you are, the character is yours, and um, you're playing that character how you want to play them. No, it's more along the lines of you are kind of watching a character progress through a story. It's as though you're reading a book. Okay. Um, so, um, okay. So think of it this way. Okay. There's like three levels of like role playing games. And obviously there probably is more. I'm just kind of giving examples here, right? There's there's your like the Final Fantasy storyline. Okay, this is like a RPG that you're playing through the characters. You're playing as the characters, but it's like reading a fantasy novel. Okay, you're reading through their story, something that's already been predetermined. The paths are already set. You're going in a certain direction towards this particular outcome, right? You have the other side of the spectrum where you're in full control, per se, with the game master, you know, um, controlling the overall and the arc of the story. Okay, but you can take your character to do whatever you want in that story. Okay, you could completely upset the GM and basically say, yeah, no, I'm not really interested in that bad guy over there. He could do whatever he wants. I'm going to go this way. They could, you could definitely try to do that. The GM is probably going to kill you off because they're going to be like, you're ignoring everything that I kind of built, for you to, do. You're, you're basically letting the bad guy win, and they're like, and the character, the players might be like, yeah, sure, no problem. you know, you might have player characters that are like that. You know, they just want to watch the world burn. Okay. Now you can try to maybe work that to your advantage if you're a good GM. Um, but um, but obviously, trying to railroad your players into the storyline that you want them to do, yeah, probably not gonna um, probably not gonna have like the best of um um your players might not like that happening very well. They might be a little upset on that. So, um, but um, um, you know, but I mean that's the other spectrum, right? Where you are kind of crafting your own story, with the help of the GM, but you're crafting your own story. You're taking your character where you want to take that character. You develop the character how you want to develop it. You learn new skills, you learn new magics, but that character is yours in a tabletop RPG. Okay. Um, so you look now you kind of look at BioWare. BioWare isn't like a Final Fantasy you read a book and that's it. Okay. Well, I mean, it kind of is, but not 100%, right? You know, it's not like your choices are gonna change. Um, um, it's not necessarily gonna change like the future, okay? Because eventually you're gonna need to go, to that end game, okay? You're gonna need to, you know, fight these bosses, take care of these goals, fight the final boss, and blah blah blah, right? Um, in Knights of the Old Republic, in Mass Effect, in Dragon Age, some of your choices might have positive effects, might have negative effects. Um, you might kill off a group of mercenaries, just trying to have a drink in the bar, or you just might let them go so that, maybe potentially you might have to fight them again anyway, like later on down the line. You might wind up and find them at the docks, and they're like, "We hate how you pushed us out of the. We're gonna fight you anyway," or whatever, right? Um, you know, Potential of that happening. Who's to say, right? Um, but I kind of look at like the BioWare games as kind of like the pick your adventure style books. Like you're reading through the story, right? And you get to like the very end of like the second page or something like that, and it tells you if you want to take this path, turn to page such and such. If you want to take the second path, turn to page such and the other another page. If you want to take this third path, you want to turn to page another page, that kind of thing. Um, and you pick that page and you're suddenly going through that content. Okay. That's not to say that you can't necessarily go back to those other two pages later on. They might allow for you to kind of go to those pages, but that's the impression that I'm getting out of these BioWare games is kind of like a, you know, um, those paged adventure books kind of thing. And um, one of the problems that I've had with those style games is that like, oh yeah, you're giving me a choice, but none of these are great choices. Like I would handle it this way, and it might solve everybody's problem. Um, same kind of thing with like mystery games or something like that. Um, for example, well, I mean, mystery style games, and I don't know um, if this particular game is kind of fits in that, but um, it was Ace Attorney, right? Yeah, Ace Attorney. I once tried like tried out at one point in time like Ace Attorney. I forget exactly where I think I might have had like a friend that had the game or something like that. So I tried it out a little bit, and so I remember one time, I was like, questioning the witness and stuff like that, and I was like going, oh well, they've already kind of, you know, they've already, made a flub in their, and in their statements, they've already, I could see like, oh yeah, you just countered yourself. You said it one way, but in your previous statement you said it the exact opposite way. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll hit him up on that. Like, hey, I'm gonna call you out on this particular statement that you just made because that was the exact counter to your other statement, right? But when I tried to do that, the game itself would be saying, what are you talking about? There's nothing wrong here. You might as well move on because there's nothing there. I'm like, wait, what? I'm seeing the contradiction here, guys. I could clearly see what that person just said is counter to like the previous statement that they said. I can clearly see it light as, very easily. Um, but the game wouldn't let me do that. You know, that game is very much, or at least it feels to me like it's very much on rails. You can't really. It's trying to give you that choice, but that choice is still like on rails. You can't necessarily go off those rails at all, even though they give you the illusion of the choice, and it's like uh, that's that's the that kind of irritates me. Those style of games where it's like, hey, um, we'll give you the illusion of choice, but it really means nothing. You're just gonna have to follow exactly how we want you to follow, you know. And it's like, then what's the purpose of giving me a choice in the first place? You know, you might as well just have you might as well have like a straight, you know, separate storyline, for that particular style of character. You know, the different dialogues means nothing. you know. Um, so that's how it's been. I've had It's one of those things where it's like, sure, I like how BioWare, you know, gave you the choice, but I didn't like how the choice was flawed. Or at least, the choice is very on rails. Okay. Like there was a one conversation that I had in the camp with the um, with Witch. And I was like looking at the question. I'm like going, okay, well, I mean, this isn't the question itself isn't really that um bad per se. You know, you're trying to, I was looking at the question as more of a, what are your motivations to go with us? Because I mean, your what was it, grandmother, mother, whatever, forced her to be with the team, and you know, it's like, okay, what other motivations do you have other than the fact that, hey, you're being forced on this team? That doesn't really give me a lot of, um, if someone's being forced into an army kind of thing, then I wouldn't necessarily um, trust that they had my back, you know. Um, you know, Especially if I was like getting into a fight with them, with me, the next day or something like that, or later on that day or whatever, right? You know, um, I'd be worried that they just might, shoot me in the back and then just kind of like, okay, oh well, their mission failed. I might as well go home. That kind of thing, right? You know, what were her motivations? Okay, so I thought, maybe asking that question would unlock that. But unfortunately, no. Asking that question turned out to be quite negative. She took it as an offense, and there was no way for me to break out of that conversation without her taking offense to that particular question. And that instantaneously showed me that um, that the conversations, like, how I would have approached the conversations and how I would have approached the questions, you know, is a lot differently than what BioWare is forcing us to do on that. So that's why, these BioWare games, has kind of like a middle ground, neutral feeling for me. Okay. They're giving you the illusion of the choice, but, you know, going on a railroad approach. They're not letting you take those choices to areas that you want to explore. So that's why it's rough. It's rough. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand why a lot of people might have like that nostalgia factor. They might like what you know what the game was all about. But to be honest, I'd probably prefer more of the Final Fantasy style games where I don't necessarily have any kind of choice whatsoever. Now, there is one game that I haven't played yet, and I do want to try out. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to because, once again, we're talking about an older game here, but that was Deus Ex. I have yet to play that one yet. And from what I understand, that is like really open-ended. Like, they gave you as many choices as that you wanted to do. From what I understand, I don't know. I haven't played the game before. I haven't seen anybody play the game before. So I don't know um, the capabilities of that game. I heard everybody praised it, for what it could do, but I never saw anything beyond that. I wanted to kind of experience it myself, but again, I never had the money or the means to try that game out. I do own it on Steam. Um, let me make sure. Yeah, Deus Ex Game of the Year Edition and Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which I believe Mankind Divided is um, like the sequel or so. So I don't know if these games have had any issues with running, but you know, um, I don't know. Um, I don't know what to kind of expect on those games either. So, but Dragon Age is just gonna have to be shelved for now, there, folks. So I know that you might have wanted to watch it, see someone trying to play it first time, but yeah, I was not able to get it to run the way it needed to be run. So yeah, that's where we're gonna go ahead and end it. I know, I talked quite a bit, but wanted to kind of give you my impressions of Dragon Age and the like. Um, Combat was okay. Um, I liked the idea. I like the combat system. I like I tend to like the tactics. Being able to set up um, the other party members um, to kind of do their own thing. Um, I really wish there were ways to kind of expand out the the entire team. Like I've always looked at RPGs and it's like, hey, we're gonna give you this 10-man crew, yay! You can kind of, you know, you have all these people that are willing to join you in your quest to save the world, blah blah blah, right? And then they go, okay, well, you can only have 3 of them, and that's it. You can't have any more. And it's like, wait, hold on a second. What about my other 7 people? Oh, they'll be along, you know, but they won't join you in the fight. Um, Maybe, depending on their RPG, they'll get XP for the fight, even though they didn't actually actively participate in said fight. Oh wait, there are some games that allow for you to swap out the characters mid battle, so I mean that's good, but it's like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, these guys could still be fighting per se, even in the background. Especially if you're fighting the main boss. It's like, hey, I have a summoner in the background that could be summoning everything to fight the boss. Why aren't they? Okay. Um, so it often bugs me the fact that it's like, hey, we got um, we have this 7-man crew, but we're only using 3 at a time. And it's like, oh God. You know, found those games very, um, I would love to, I mean, I don't know I don't personally know of any game other than like Final Fantasy Tactics, I think, that allows for you to have like all the main characters, you know, on the battlefield fighting. But then again, let's face it, Final Fantasy Tactics is, very turn-based, very, um, you know, the battles themselves can be very slow because you're having to move the characters, use each of their abilities all at the same time, kind of thing. Um, so I'm just saying, hey, we have the kind of the technology one would think to be able to handle, like, let's use tactics, quote unquote, to allow for you to basically tell your AI companions, hey, I want you to attack more than use your magic. Or hey, I want you to use your magic more versus your attack. Or maybe you have a summon or whatever, you know. Maybe you have a gun, maybe you have a bow, you know. I want you to shoot long range versus, go up close and personal. Hey, you're a tank? Well, why are you in the back line? That kind of thing. You know, um, it'd be great if they had to, if I could find a game that actually, had all the characters doing everything that I wanted them to do. But so far, I personally haven't really found much along those lines. So, um, you know, now don't get me wrong, I still, I do appreciate the games that are like, hey, we only have three characters and that's it. Such as Secret of Mana. I thoroughly enjoyed that game. Would love to find like two other people that would want to join me on Secret of Mana to play through the entire game from start to finish. Um, you know, I'll play one of the three characters and have two others play, the other two characters. Um, that's kind of like one of my dreams at some point in time, but haven't found anybody that wants to do that either. So, or at least not yet. Someday, someday we'll see. Um, so yeah, um, it's unfortunate that we are kind of here. That Dragon Age is gonna have to be set aside for now. But that's it. That's where we're gonna go ahead and close on down here, there, folks. So, we're gonna switch on over to Terraria. But I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. They would greatly help out. Um, Again, if you're a fan of Dragon Age, I'm sorry. I really, I'm not like hitting Alt F4 to close down the game or anything like that. Believe me, I'm not. Okay. So if you're thinking that that's the case, then no, it's not. Um, you know, I go into the door of that one magical shop and it just closes down. There's no error message whatsoever, and it's like I, you know, I'm at I'm at a loss as to what else to really do with the game at this point to try to get it to work. So, um, so yeah, um, want to thank everybody for watching. Hopefully, I'll catch you next time. Until then, take care, have a good night, stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll catch you strangers next time.